Hi everyone, welcome back to the cottage. Today's video is going to be very casual as I give a bit of a life update and then also answer some of your questions from the comments. So I've taken a few notes. I have them here on my phone. I'll be probably glancing down at them every once in a while just to keep me on track, but I wanted this video to just be really personal, really casual, like I said, and just to share a little bit more about my life and how things are going right now. I know that there's quite a few new subscribers to the channel, and unless you went back and watched all of my old videos, you might have some questions because those questions come up fairly routinely in the comment section, so I thought I would just answer some of those more common questions today. So the first question that I get asked a lot is where we live. We live in Minnesota, and we are not really close to the Twin Cities. We're further north than that, and so we aren't really in a metro area. We do live in a city. We don't live in the country. Some people think that we do. We live in a neighborhood, but our parcel, our lot that we live on, is about 4.5 acres. So it's kind of a unique situation. Some of you have been wondering what we do here in the winter, what we like to do for fun, and I'll say that this winter has been abnormal in that it's been very warm. We did have one week that was negative temperatures for the entire week, but this last week was in the 40s, which is, it just never happens in January. It was really crazy. And I know that we're probably gonna get more snow coming forward, you know, as the months go on, but I'm enjoying the weather that we have for now. So typically on a winter when we're spending a lot of time indoors, we like to do puzzles. My husband and I like to tag team on puzzles because he's the one that likes to put the pieces together and I'm the one that likes to sort the pieces, and so we make a good team that way. We like the Buffalo brand puzzles, the Charles Wazaki, because they have all the detail on those puzzle pieces. Of course, our kids are involved in different activities, so we're usually, you know, running from this gym to that gym, doing different things for them. I also enjoy reading. This winter, I brought a few props here. I've been reading this book, which is it's called My Ever Dear Charlie. And it's basically a collection of letters that this lady wrote back to her husband. So they were homesteaders, and he sent her ahead of him to, you know, kind of start the process of land acquisition. So she had to live there in their sod hut over the long winter so that he could keep that as a claim. Anyway, it's really fascinating because it's basically her letters back to him because he wasn't living there with them, and then his letters to her, kind of giving her encouragement, sending her money, things like that. I just think it's fascinating because our lives are just so easy now, and you can really see the hardship that they went through during that time. So I enjoy that. I do listen to audiobooks as well. And we have been trying to go for walks a lot this winter since it's been really nice. We've been able to get outside, so that's been really fun. Another group of questions that I get quite a lot have to do with our house. So if we built our own house, what would we do differently if we were to do it again? And what kind of projects we have coming up. So we did have our house built back in 2020. We hired builders that did all of the foundation work, the framing, and all of that stuff, but we did help with some of the finishes, and that was just a way for us to cut some costs, honestly, because it's very expensive to build a house, and so the things that we felt capable of doing, we wanted to add some sweat equity that way. And so, you know, there's that. We did the best we could. We're not professionals at it, but we feel like we did an okay job with that. We did design this house though, so it was something that we worked on for many years, the design of it. It's very unique to our family. I have a video showing a house tour about it. My background is in architecture. That's what I went to school for, and so designing houses is just kind of one of my passions, I guess you could say, in life. As far as if we would change things, what we would do differently, because I am a designer, I could say that I can think of a million different ways to do different things here. And so I'm constantly thinking about things, wondering why I did this way and not this way. It could really drive me crazy if I thought about it too much. We're very content with this house. We love our home. We feel that it's our forever home. We want to live here long term. But there are a few things that we probably would do differently were we to build again, if we were to do this project again. So one of the things for me specifically is I don't feel like I understood our site super well when we built it. It's a very unique site. It's built on a hill, and just the property itself is a unique shape. And so getting everything to fit in properly was a challenge. And I don't think I understood it as well as I do now. Of course, having lived here for 3 years, that makes a big difference, but I would have changed the way that I sited the house a little bit, maybe would have pushed it back further or, rotated it a little bit here and there, changed some of the layout perhaps. I know that's kind of vague, but that's that's how my mind works. My husband will say, he would tell you to answer that question, that he wishes he had a bigger garage. I personally don't like the look of an attached garage if it's a really big attached garage. So I think if I were to do it again, I would just attach one stall for the garage so one car could fit in it, and then have a separate detached like shop or something like that. One of the things that's coming up really soon is going to be an organizing of the garage, and that goes along with our issues that we're having. Because it's a smaller footprint, we have to be very efficient about how we have everything laid out in there, and we haven't really found a great system for it yet. And so here during these winter months, one of our goals, my husband and I, was to figure out a good system and start to build that up inside the garage. And so we've kind of started on that a little bit, but we still have quite a ways to go. And when I do finally, when we have that all organized and figured out, I do plan to share a video on that topic. Some other things that I would like to do, the kitchen, still not fully visualized in my head of what I want that to look like. We don't have any upper cabinets, and it was always my intention all along to have some shelves on either side of the large picture window that's in front of our sink. But the more I think about it, the more I wonder what I would even use those shelves for. And as a minimalist, I don't want to just have that space there if I don't have a purpose for it. It just seems like it would just get cluttered up with decorations, or I don't even know. Those are the main things that are kind of on my mind right now. I would also love to build some sort of deck or patio out in the back of our home, but the expense of that is a little higher than we'd like to pay at the moment. So whether that happens this year or a couple years down the road, I'm not really sure, but I guess we'll see what happens. I had a question just last week asking about our family size. They were wondering how many kids that we have. I don't show them that often. This isn't really a lifestyle type of YouTube channel. It's not a vlog channel, and so they might show up in a video here or there, but they're not, front and center. So we do have 5 kids. Our oldest is 17, a son, and he is starting to think about colleges and where he wants to go and all of that, so that's pretty exciting. And then our youngest is a daughter, and she's 10. So 3 boys, 2 girls. Our boys are biologically our children, and then our daughters were adopted from China. So that's kind of the story of our family. And many people also ask what we do for meal planning, because we have a larger family. We have 3 teenage boys, or almost teenage boys. Our youngest isn't quite a teenager yet, but pretty soon he will be. And they eat a lot of food, and so wondering what we do for that. So I do like to meal plan. I brought this along. If you've seen the video I did about meal planning, I have these rotations that I like to go through. So I have like 6 of these different weeks that are just a whole week full of food, and then I have the recipe, or not the recipe, the shopping list for each of those right here. So I can go through and decide, what I need to buy for groceries for that week, and then I have all of the recipes they're all in one nice little packet like this, which is great. But I will say that I've had that for probably 4 years. And after 4 years doing that same rotation over and over again, we have realized that we want to change things up a little bit. So I actually am in the process of doing some new meal planning, and I want to do maybe 3 weeks or 4 weeks of a rotation for the spring and summer months, and then another 3 or 4 weeks for the fall and winter. I just feel like that would give us a little bit more variety throughout our year, and it's fun to try new things sometimes. I will be the first to admit that I'm not someone that's great in the kitchen, and so I do like having this rotation, this consistency, because I know how to make these recipes well. I've been making them for so many years. I don't hardly even need to look at the recipe itself, and that gives me some confidence in the kitchen. But it's time to change it up a little bit. I will say, some of you were wondering, because a few videos back I was talking about how I had never tried grocery pickup before. And so over Christmas, that was one of my major goals, was to set up a grocery pickup. And I did it. I tried it out at Aldi and it has been really, really good. I really like it a lot. I didn't know if I would like having someone else pick out my produce, but it has worked really well. It saves me so much time at the grocery store. I can just drive there, park, and they have the bags out to my vehicle in just a couple of minutes. It's been really great. So I don't know what was the holdup for me taking so long to even try it out, but I'm really happy I did. Many of you encouraged me to try that out, so thank you very much. Some of you are wondering what my husband Craig does for a job since he works from home. He's a computer programmer and his degree though is in mechanical engineering. So the story on that is we met in college, in the College of Engineering and Architecture, and even at that time I could tell that his passion was for computers and programming. I encouraged him to switch his major. He didn't want to because he was already so far down the path of getting his engineering degree, but once he graduated and started working in that field, he recognized pretty quickly that it wasn't what he wanted to do for the rest of his life. He taught himself programming and then was able to acquire a job in that field, and he's been much happier since. So that is what he does. I guess you could say that I was right, but in the end it all worked out for the better. Another sort of big life update question that I get asked often is how homeschooling is going. And so for those of you who are new to the channel, you might not know that this past September was the first time that I started homeschooling just our daughters. So our sons are in their respective schools. Things are going great for them. There's no need to change their education at all. But our daughters, we found, were just kind of struggling with a typical classroom setting, keeping up with the pace, and just needed a little bit more one-on-one attention. So that is the reason that we are homeschooling in the first place. It was not political. It wasn't because we didn't like the school that they were at. We loved the school. The teachers were great there. It just wasn't a good fit for them. And so for 5 months, I've been homeschooling them, and I would not say that I'm an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but things are going pretty well, I think. With minimalism, again, I like to bring it back to that because our homeschool is very minimalistic, I would say, in the approach that I take and the way that it's run. And so I wanted to just kind of give some insight into that. And so first of all, we have adopted sort of a unit study approach to our learning. And so instead of having a lot of different subjects where you might be talking about totally unrelated things, instead we have a topic that we stay on for about 6 weeks. We just really pour into that one topic. Now that topic will cover lots of different branches. So for example, our first unit study of the school year was Asia. And so we learned about the geography of where Asia is, the different countries in Asia. We talked about culture things. We talked about animals that are found in those areas of the world. And it was just really in depth into that topic. And so I think that that is really helpful, at least for our daughters, to kind of have those connections already built there for them. And they can see how these bigger things in life really do relate together. So that's the first way I think that our homeschool is kind of set up in a minimalistic sort of way. All of the materials that we have, I have stored in one area of our mudroom, and that is where I go and get the resources in the morning. I bring them to the table, we lay everything out, we work until we're done with school, and then everything gets packed right back up and put back in that cabinet. So it doesn't feel like our home is overrun with homeschool things. As far as curriculum goes, I'm not going to go into detail on that because we have such an eclectic mix of things, some things from this company and some from that company, and honestly everything that we've used we found to really enjoy, and I think it's been beneficial. But I did want to share a few products. None of these are sponsored in any way. These are just tools that we've found to be really helpful. So the first is these boogie boards. So these are really nice. I don't know if you've heard of these before. I know I hadn't until I started doing homeschooling research, but essentially it's like having a piece of paper with you at all times, and then this little stylus is like your pencil. And so you can write on the boogie board, and when you're ready to erase, you just hit the button and everything erases at once. The reason I really like these is because I think it makes the girls be more patient about what they're writing and thoughtful about what they're writing, because for example, if I'm having them work out a math problem on the boogie board, they know that they can't just erase things and then come back to it and change it around, that they have to be very careful about what they're writing on there, because when you hit that button, it erases everything you have on your screen. So these have been really nice, and it saves me from having to always be using up paper, which is great. The next thing I want to share is this little caddy, this little supply caddy that we keep on our table during homeschool, and it's on a little turntable that they can rotate it around and get whatever supply that they need. These aren't all the supplies that we have, but these are the ones that we keep on our table during homeschool, and this has been really helpful. It just keeps everything organized. It's small and it just fits into our cabinet when we're done using it. And then the third thing I want to share is a Yoto player, and this is the Yoto player that we have. What comes with them is you buy these cards, these little Yoto cards, and there are audiobooks, there are music, different things that you can purchase. You can also make your own. And so these cards then can just get inserted into this slot and it will play whatever you have. So this is a music card, and so it's playing some classical piano music. And it just has a little graphic right here of what is being played, and you can adjust the volume. Very simple, very straightforward, easy for them to use. And the reason I like this so much is it allows me to be in two places at one time. So if I'm working with one of my daughters on something, a subject that she's working on, then I can have my other daughter in another room listening to an audiobook or working through, they have like different math cards that you can buy for this. And it's just been really awesome. I really appreciate this. It's a little on the more expensive side. They do have a smaller version that you can buy that's a little bit cheaper, but I think it's well worth the investment, and we've really been using it a lot. All right, and let's end out this video with a little talk of minimalism and decluttering. Some of you are wondering if I've always been a minimalist, if I've always lived an organized life, or if that's something that has come recently, and also if I struggle at all with keeping my own home tidy. So to answer the first question, I do think that it's in my nature to be organized, and I feel like I always have had that desire. So my parents would tell you, even as a little kid, I had a tidy, organized room. I just like to keep it that way. I didn't start to struggle with clutter until I got married and had kids, and that's when really just the sheer volume of items I had to manage became overwhelming for me. I didn't recognize it as that at the time. I just thought it's because we had little kids and that was just going to be stressful no matter what. But once we started to realize that really it was the stuff that was causing the problem, and we started to reduce our belongings to a level that was more manageable, that's when I was able to really get back to what my nature told me, and that was to keep things organized and to keep things really simple. So that has been a huge blessing in my life. Minimalism has really changed my life in that way because it has reduced so much stress. That being said, I do still have some clutter weaknesses, I would call them. And the first one I've mentioned before is digital clutter. That one with the emails that are always coming in. I like to take a lot of digital photos. You don't really see the clutter, so it's not as obvious that it needs to be dealt with, but that is something that I've been working on a lot in this new year. Many of you had good suggestions on how to tackle the email specifically by just taking about 5 minutes a day and going through and getting through some emails, deleting some things. So I have been actively working at that. The other thing that I struggle with is kind of silly, and let me know if you also have this weakness, but I tend to keep things until they are basically completely useless. And I have many products like that, many items like that. I have a kitchen mixer, those mixers that have the two prongs on them, that one of the prongs has been broken for probably close to a year, and so I've just been using it with the one prong, which, as you might guess, doesn't work as well, but it does still kind of work. And so I don't know, I have that whole like make do or do without type of mentality when it comes to things like that, and I just can't seem to declutter those items when I know that they would go straight in the trash. I could personally put them in the trash, but again, they are still kind of functional. So anyway, if you struggle with this, let me know, because I would like to know that I'm not alone in that weird decluttering challenge. All right, thank you so much for watching this video today. I hope that gave you a little bit more insight into my personality, things that are going on in my life, some different updates. I hope it answered some of your questions. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you'll stop by the cottage again really soon.